Hey, I'm Daniel Berger, and this is Adventures of a Real Estate Broker. Welcome to the podcast where Metro New York real estate meets great stories and a douse of humor. Forget the dry sales talk. Here we dive into the fun and unexpected moments of real estate. Join me each week as we explore Westchester, Long Island, the Bronx, and more. You'll hear about the people, the places, and the crazy situations that make this industry so interesting. Thanks to our sponsor, Remax Prestige Properties, we're ready to share the lighter side of real estate. Whether you're a pro, a buyer, or just curious, we've got something for everyone. Ready for today's adventure? Let's get into it. Welcome to another edition of the Adventures of a Real Estate Broker with Daniel Berger. I'm Daniel Berger, and today we have the pleasure of having a 15-year expert from Garden Island Realty, Bryan Miyake, who is he's a one-man show. He's the broker owner, real estate broker, and property manager at Garden Island, and all the way from Kauai. Thank you for Bryan for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Glad to be
Great.
here. Yeah.
Hawaii is just like, probably one of the best destinations for people's honeymoons. And it's just, America's lucky to have it as one of our states. Because I've been there twice. It's absolutely wonderful. What percent of your business are people that live on the island in Hawaii full time, and what percent of the people that have like vacation homes?
Oh, yeah. Well, with my property management, yeah, a lot of my rentals, are second homes, yeah, for people that live abroad in the mainland. But I have about 20% local owners that rent out, um, and then that way I get a lot of business, yeah, that way from property management. That's kind of what kept me going, and um,
Properties are you currently managing?
how many? I've got about
Yeah.
maybe 70, 75 properties.
So
One
that
guy, it's keeps me busy.
and
So
are those generally longer term rentals or shorter term rentals?
yeah, I do long-term rentals, which is in a lot of affordable housing. It's kind of my thing. What makes me enjoy the business part of the property management.
So generally they're multi-units. Your owners come in and buy 8 to 10 unit properties and doing it like that, or is it more smaller scale?
It's more smaller single owners, but I do have a couple owners with they've been here a long time, generations, and they've built some places with the family, and a lot of the homes were just for family members at one time, and now they just kind of manage it as rentals, and we keep it kind of affordable. So it's really serves a real need here on Kauai because there's such a shortage of rentals here. Yeah.
And, you saying the words Hawaii and affordable, and to me that's an oxymoron, right? Only because to me Hawaii's, I'm in New York and things are expensive, but when Hawaii to me has always been one that's been a little bit expensive. What would be like for like a two-bedroom apartment, what would be like a monthly rental that on like an okay place, nothing super fancy, just regular?
Just regular, two bedrooms, one bath. You're probably looking at about 1,900 a month.
Yeah, so that's totally. I should be closing up shop, moving, and getting into one of your
But you'd
70
be lucky to find.
properties.
Yeah, you'd
And
be
if I,
lucky to find that.
and that would be how far away from the beach would something like that be?
Oh man, we got some really close to the beach, right on the beach.
Yeah,
A
so
bit of
that's
everything.
great.
Yeah.
Hawaii has some interesting land ownership properties, right? Like I know that there are condos, but there are a lot of co-ops that are on like land leases. Do you
Oh
do
yes.
do you like how does that work in your market, and how many of those how many of your properties are co-ops that are on like borrowing of the land actually?
Well, I don't have any rentals as far as borrowing the land with leasehold for the land, but I've done several sales in the Hawaiian homelands. They help, which they lease the land and they build a home. But sometimes things happen and they it goes up on the market and I help sell those houses for those Hawaiian people. Yeah.
How often I was told that the lease land, it doesn't always, so generally sometimes you buy a property and there's only 5 years left and then you need it to be renewed. How often are those not renewed and it goes back to the landowner?
Well, with the Hawaiian homelands, it's like a 99-year lease, so we don't really have a problem with that. The problem is for them to qualify, yeah, they have to meet a certain quantum of blood, yeah, for Hawaiian. You have to have at least 50% um, to qualify, yeah, to even get the lease on it.
Oh, so other than that, then so because I know that I had a couple of investors that had bought some properties in Hawaii, and I think that they were co-ops that had like maybe 12 years left of that 99-year lease. But that could be, you don't necessarily need to be from the homeland to be able to do something like that, right?
No, no, if that would be something different, definitely, yeah. And they do exist here. You're right. You're right.
Right. So but that's like a totally different animal, you know.
Totally
So
different animal, yeah. Because you
so
can't appraise the land, right? You can just, appraise the house
and
on it, selling it.
right. Well, that's
Yeah.
why they're inexpensive, right? Because they're like
Yes.
you have the threat that it could go away. So that's what the question is. I was told sometimes they don't go away. Sometimes the lease could be extended. So then you're kind of, then you're lucky, I guess, if that happens.
Yes, you're right.
So how do you like prospect your business? Would it be the same as, in other places? Or, obviously you're trying to get people who are investment money from people around the world, but between your locals and people that are outside of Hawaii, how do you work on getting, growing your business, looking for new clientele?
For me, it's a little different, yeah. Because I don't have the luxury of being part of a large real estate company. It's a small office, but I got the only offices on the west side of Kauai, yeah. And so, I don't do any advertising or anything. Everything is out here is my reputation. Uh, I'm pretty good with the community here. Well known. So I don't do much advertising. And with the rentals, I help a lot of people out, local people here, and that's something that I really enjoy. It makes me feel good. Just finding people rentals for homes or homes for families and rentals for families. But it's just all word of mouth for me and just my reputation. That's everything.
That's clearly so important, reputation. So I'll Remax. I'm a broker owner, so I own a Remax franchise in my market. But you know, so while I do have that big balloon that feels like it's big, I feel more like you in the sense that I'm me, right? Like I'm the guy.
Yeah.
I do have other agents. I have maybe 12 other agents. Um, so besides doing the selling myself, I'm also like a mentor and an educator and trying to help those agents grow their business. But I'm small too, right? So it's not, I think, and that's what I really like about the job is that if somebody comes to you, Brian, and says, "This is my proposition," you don't have to ask anyone. If there are legal rules, and if it's legal and it makes sense to you, then you're like, "Yeah, I'm going to do that because I want to continue to grow the business." Right. So being a small business owner and real estate can be kind of exciting.
I like that what you said, and I think that totally sums up how I am. 100%. And yeah, no, I actually have a couple of agents with me, but they're part time. They don't do a whole lot, but they're the same. Yeah, I mentor them. I started out needing that myself. I came from a larger real estate company on the island, and I actually just took over and became um, the owner of Garden Island Realty by chance. It was my dad that kind of branched off, yeah, on his own, and I was kind of part time, and then I took over because he was, battling a sickness, which he got over, and then, um, but long story short, yeah, I took over that way and never looked back. But it was kept it small. Enjoy the locals, enjoy being free to do, what we need to do, and if it makes sense, it makes sense, and you got to find a way to enjoy this job. I think the mistake is you can do is not spending too much time not enjoying what you're doing. So you try to find something you enjoy, and I enjoy doing that.
I think, we only go around this world once, at least that's
Yeah,
what I've been told.
like that.
Maybe there's more, but you know
Yeah,
what? Try to wrap yourself around people that you enjoy, work that work is hard and we do it all the time, but at least if you're, working in something that makes you happy and that you feel, rewarded for, then it doesn't feel like it's work, right? It's just like, you have to do something and you have to work hard. Um, so, from your perspective, how do you like manage like work-life balance?
and well, okay, that's one thing why I like doing what I do. It gives me flexibility to do, work when I need to work. We work hard when it's time to work hard, and when it's good. So yeah, it's a perfect situation for me for balancing my life. The family and the kids and the sports we do. In Hawaii, there's a lot of activities here, so you try to mix it up. You want to get in the ocean, you want to go fishing. And that's what I love about doing this. And I really can't see myself doing anything else at this point in my life. Yeah.
It took me two or three, careers to get here, and I'm like,
See,
where am I going now? But the funny thing is, we talk about our flexibility, but that flexibility to me makes it feel like that I'm always on, and
always
and what's
on.
it always on, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so it's interesting. 70 properties. I'm assuming you're the person that gets the phone call if like water's not running, heat's
Oh,
not
yeah.
working, air conditioning, right? So um you're able to do stuff, but maybe Hawaii time's a little different, right? So like, do you feel like, is it the same if someone's hot water's not working in Hawaii as in New York, or do you think you're like, listen, I'm surfing or I'm fishing or I'm playing volleyball? Do you feel that you get a little bit of slack or no?
Oh, yeah. Okay. The one thing I think my tenants and customers, I'm the easiest guy to work with, so I get a lot of slack from my owners and tenants. Yeah. Um, but the key is having the right guys to do the repairs when you get that phone call. If you got a couple good guys, I think that's everything.
Yeah.
If there's a leak here, we always respond quickly. Even if I'm on the ocean, I have my iPhone watch. I can see my text messages. As soon as I get off, I follow up right away. And that's the most important thing is just being able to follow up right away. Yeah.
Certainly having a great team of people, all successful people surround themselves with other successful people or other people that are going to get the job done to make us successful. So I agree with that 100%. I was on a safari this past January in Africa, but same thing. My phone would go off. I could pick up. I'm like looking at the lions and the zebras and and I'm on the phone because somebody called and I wanted, and some things are more important and you need to take it right now. Others you're like, listen,
Yeah.
I'm on, I can get to it in a little bit. I guess, Brian, if your tenants know that historically when something breaks, you're taking care of it, then they're going to give you a flexibility of
Exactly.
like, oh, we'll do it later. I'm out. I'll call you back because it's about consistency. If you had a tenant that every single time there's things breaking in their apartment and you're not fixing it and you're not being responsive, well, that's going to go a different way. But if they know that you value them and and you're really the conduit, right, between the owners and the tenants, and so you also look good by you picking good owners, right, owners that give you the resources to fix problems with, either preventively fix things or fix problems as they happen. So I guess that's important too.
It is very important. Very important. Yeah.
So the podcast, and I'm writing a book too, and it all started from like crazy zany things that have happened, you know, happened on the way to the closing table. So that's where you get the adventures of a real estate broker. Do you have like a crazy story of either, listing a property, buying a property, or something with one of your buildings that is just like people will be like, oh my God, I can't believe that.
Well, I guess I get a lot of crazy stories. As part of the job. I mean, I think they're all crazy. I don't know where to start, to be honest. You know, for sales, it's so different, yeah, with people. Um, but Yeah, I mean, every day is crazy. I mean, it's just the bad tenants that you try to weed out, and then sometimes it's bad owners, that give you the problems. Um, but what I can say is, yeah, it's just the very good question, but the owners that yeah, if the owners are taking too much time with me, and it's always give me problems, yeah, then I mean those are the craziest ones for me that I gotta cut ties with sooner or later, because you always being a one man show. I'm always afraid of running scared, try not to get sued, I think
Right.
that's the name. And sometimes it's not if, but it's when. I've never been there, and made it out the other side. But yeah, maybe some of my crazy stories are a little bit too much to speak of.
No, I don't.
Yeah,
I, I,
sorry.
I
Yeah.
had one recently where we opened up the doors and we found two skulls, detached skulls.
Oh,
We found, it was a hoarder's house and
yeah.
like 15 guns. And so I ended up having to call the police to because we didn't know what to do with the skulls. And they came and they actually took the skulls away and they tested the skulls. And they said, you
Wow.
can't go back in the house. We don't know what this could be. A couple days later, they're like, okay, those are human skulls. You can't go back in the house. But
Really?
then a few days after that, they're like, okay, here's the good news. One of the skulls we're not worried about. The other one has been detached from the body for over 100 years, so we know that your owner didn't do it. So they were like, okay, they were like, it's just the skull. You're free to go back into the house and clean it and get ready to sell it. So um, that was crazy as it was going, but you never know, right? Yeah, like you see the skull, and I'm calling the police because I don't, I don't want to. Um, I heard another story of an agent where, and it was in the city, New York. It was in Queens or the Bronx, and they opened up. There was like a part of the house, and they found a torpedo, like a bomb.
Wow.
There was an actual like legit like 150-pound undetonated bomb, but it was like historic, right? So it's
Yeah.
like they had to call the bomb, so it was like, and they were, so the person called the police, and the police, they tried to do it on the down low, except that the media came and every police officer that was there was taking pictures with the torpedo. So, and what's interesting is he wasn't allowed to keep it. Like you would think that it's my house,
Yeah.
I could keep it. They're like, no, 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 you can't have it. You can have a picture of it, but that's it. So those are sometimes, crazy things happen, and those are some of the stories that happen to me and happen to somebody else I know. So you never know, and or and sometimes it's sad, right? Sometimes somebody passes away in your property, and you have to call the police for like a wellness check, and then it's like, okay,
Exactly.
how are you going to do it that right? Because you now you have to notify the family, clear out the house, and prep it for the next owner. And that must happen to you fairly often,
Yeah, those are the stories I was thinking about. But the stories you told me earlier, those are the fun, crazy stories. I don't know
right?
if I have any of those, so that's why it was kind of a struggle for me to think of something. But yeah, the crazy stories I have are just, a little much, right? But it's those things, you find those once in a while, and you got to deal with best you can. You got to have compassion.
Right. You totally have compassion. Right. You can't have an owner that's like, okay, I need
Right.
it out tomorrow because I need a new tenant. I need the new rent. And you're like, okay, listen, there's a little bit of a loss, and we got to get the family. Maybe it's not a family from the island, and they have to fly in from somewhere. And so you're right. So I think if you're dealing with normal people, like normal owners, and you're reasonable, then you're able to come, and that's why you're not getting sued because you have creative ways to to really fix the issues that come up. I mean, every day we have, right, every time your phone rings, someone's calling you with a problem. So how do you proactively work through those issues to get satisfactory solutions, I guess, right?
Yeah, yeah, you have to be creative, like you just said, right? I mean, sometimes you just take a step back, and then you think about it, you're always going to figure out a solution. It's not a problem that you're not going to figure out, yeah.
Do you feel that when you were at the bigger company that your hands were tied more, and there were certain policies that you had to do it this way, had to do it that way, um,
Definitely.
which made you less effective, probably.
Yeah, definitely, and I think it was, I guess, good for me to go through, because that's the time when I had mentors around me, yeah, that I could learn from. But yeah, definitely, it like keeps me on my toes, and I gotta watch, kind of what I do. Um, but it was important for me to learn that way. I've been on my own running a small business here about 7 years now. When I left the other company, yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean that, being a small business owner is no joke, right? We both did it during the pandemic, right?
Yes.
Bills, there. I mean, you're property managing, so you still have to take care of it, but you also still want to grow your business. So other people might be like, maybe they moved away or they moved back, and how do you fix that? People want to buy, people want to sell, and our rents are still due, and and bills need to be paid. So we have to keep focusing on that. And so I do think that it's, you know, us being the small business owners is more than just being a broker. It's also then running a business and keeping right. We're no good to anyone if we're not paying our bills and not being able to do the things that we need to do to be professional.
Exactly. Yes.
What do you see as everything's cyclical, or business is cyclical, and how do you see, what's happening in Kauai? What do you see? What's now? What do you foresee in the next 6 months to a year? Are there any changes, or what do you feel is the business prognosis?
Yeah, I think it's just going to be hard, and it's been hard the last couple of years. There's just so much low inventory. People here that's on the island, yeah, it's really not feasible for them to really buy anything here nowadays. Yeah, those days are kind of gone. It's people that's coming here, and they have the ability. Yeah, it's got to be that way. Um, but I feel that it's going to get better. It's going to be a renter's island for a while. I think it's important, and that's what is going to keep us going. Yeah, until we find a way out of this. But yeah, it's really tough for any local people here to buy any homes right now. Yeah, and but what's kind of happening too, though, is a lot of the homes here, especially in my town, is Waimea town. Yeah, it's a lot of old families are here, so they're getting older. The kids are moving away. They live on Oahu, maybe the mainland. But as they're getting older, they're just looking to sell. So I see a lot of those coming up now, which is interesting. And which is that's where it's the greatest opportunity for our local buyers, because a lot of the older local families are, getting up there and moving on. And like I said, the kids not interested in coming back home. So in the last few years, I had found a few good homes for families that way. Um, and kind of kept it down low. But I think there's a lot more of those going to be coming up soon.
How much, as you said, supply is so low that that's really the issue. How much of, I guess the first question, do you work other islands or mostly just in Kauai?
Just Kauai. I just do Kauai, but we do island wide. Yeah.
Right. And how much how, how much more, build out could there be? Is there anywhere that they could, come in and do more infrastructure for more houses, more apartments, more, those types of things? Or the building, like what's the status of the of building, to get more supply?
Yeah, they're still developing. They're developing, all over the island. But the infrastructure is what's hurting. The traffic. Now it's a lot of people here on Kauai, so there's traffic everywhere. But they're also starting to build a lot of affordable homes too here and there. Um, but yeah, definitely the developing. Yeah, it's not slowing down here. Yeah, it's pretty healthy. Yeah.
So that's good. So do you get involved in any of the developments, either yourself or some of your investors that you're able to then, work on helping, list, market, and sell the, new builds?
Yeah, I've done that in the past where we've had exclusives on some developments, affordable homes for the office, So we've done a few of those when I was at the other real estate companies, and it was interesting, learned a lot, worked hard. But yeah, there's a lot going on as far as the building, so it's out there.
And you feel that it's so more like waiting for more builds, developments to come is really the prognosis. Not, I mean, you don't see like that much of a change in the next 6 months to a year.
No, I don't really see any change for the next 6 months of the year. Yeah. Um, there's a couple projects coming up, but they're affordable houses on the inside. So that's what's I'm excited about. For us here on the west side. Yeah, and a lot of my tenants that they're able to buy homes. But it's slowly happening. Everything will happen slowly here. Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's a good use of where you're going to get future clients from is you have 70 people renting properties that
Exactly.
when if you can find housing for them, why wouldn't they work with you, right? Because Brian, they're like, oh, Brian's been a great property manager and this is what he does. He knows the island well, and maybe he can help us get into our first home.
Exactly, and I'm easy to work with, and tenants love me, and I get a lot of business like that. And it makes me feel good when we're able to find a tenant a home that they own for themselves. Yeah.
Well, that's good. What else? You know, Do you have any thoughts of adding? You said you had two or so part-time people. Are any plans for them to go full-time, or any plans? I'm assuming you don't recruit. It seems as though people find you and are like, Brian, I want to work with you. Is that really how that you would get the next person? Would be someone would beg you to come work with them?
That's how I get. Yeah, oh yeah, I would love to have a couple superstars. But for me, yeah, I'm not really too focused on picking up people. The property management and the sales, what sales I do get, it keeps me fully busy. But I would love to be honest. If I get, you know, like a couple of great superstars to really help out, yeah. And for myself to learn off of, that'd be
Right.
great. Yeah, I'm
Not
hoping.
bad.
Yeah.
What what are some of the cool activities that you do when you're resting? You talked a little bit about fishing, but what are some of the things that you like to do when you're on your own time?
Oh man, yeah, fishing, diving. What was in the ocean? I don't know if you ever heard of this. We're a canoe paddler. We do open ocean paddling, sailing. We cross the channels from every island, from the Big Island to Kauai, um, and we paddle the whole way. So
Right. Well, I
yeah, I do
do
a
see
lot of.
I did notice that there's a paddle over your shoulder.
Oh, you see
Uh,
it?
I
Yeah,
s- I
yeah. Somebody made that for me.
so no,
Yeah.
well, that you do look jacked a little bit, so I'm assuming that that's from your paddle skills.
Well, you got to keep the blood moving somehow. But yeah, that's. I'm a coach too. I actually coach for one of the clubs down here, so the kids are starting to get into it, which is a lot of fun. Yeah.
You know what? It's Hawaii is a beautiful place in the world, and it's you. I hope you know how lucky you are that you're able to do this and have, like, it's basically like it's the Garden of Eden almost, right? Of nature, the weather, the food, the people. It's you certainly did something right, I guess, in another life that you're able to come back and live and work in one of the most beautiful places in the world.
Thank you for saying that because it wasn't always easy. I tell you, like with this, real estate, the first years are so hard, right? But it gets easier, and,
It's
and I
you know
love
what,
that.
it's only easier because A, we're older, but
Yeah,
because you do the right thing, right? And so, if you're a 23-year-old, why is a landlord going to give you the property? You haven't proven yourself. So, well, so hard work and effort, right, um, can make things in business easier if you do it right. And if you take shortcuts, then you're not going to be you've set yourself up for over the years and certainly, taking over your dad's business, you know, um, if you weren't running it in a way that he did or that makes sense to people, then it would end, right? So it the hard work of having 70 people that can text you or call you at any moment at a moment's notice for anything that could go wrong, plus your regular real estate clients, it's earned, right? So your status was not given to you. It was basically earned from hard work because that's right. So that's so that is what's interesting about real estate is like if you're going to be a bad broker and a bad agent, and a bad property manager, well, maybe you can do that for a short period of time, but after that, people aren't going to want to work with you. Or if you have like, the owners aren't going to work, I'm calling you, you're not answering. Tenants are going to be complaining. Tenants are going to complain to the owner. So it's really only because you know, your direction of how you work and your work ethic makes sense for the business that you're in.
yeah, 100%. And yeah, you got to be consistent in everything you do. That's the only way you're gonna survive, And you gotta find ways to enjoy what you do. Yeah, but I
Absolutely. And so for Brian, you're the owner of Garden Island Realty, and point of it, me, what I see is that, you're proud, right? And you're going to work hard even if no one's looking because that's just what you want to do. And so you want when people know that that it's when they talk about Garden Island Realty and Brian, that you're like that that you've done all that you can. And what, can we please every single person all the time? We can't. But as long as you want to be able to sleep well at night, right, with your head on the pillow, knowing that you worked hard that day and you were respectful and you were productive, I guess, right?
oh yeah, I'm so glad to start getting to that point of my career. I guess real estate where yeah we put in the work. We're still here, and that's what I'm proud of. And so that means we're doing something right. Um, And like I say, it gets easier. At first, being new, you're unsure of yourself. Sometimes you're afraid to ask the questions you need to ask. And that could be a mistake. Don't be afraid to ask for help or keep learning, but just keep plugging away. And it gets easier.
It's interesting because it seems like you were able to get to this status and this level without any gray hair. I don't know how you
Oh,
were able to do that.
oh,
Because
got something here.
yeah, but not much up top. I mean, I'm like,
Oh,
I do have my
yeah,
hair, which is still good, but I'm, I got the gray beard too.
yeah,
So, COVID brought the beard out in me, right?
yeah.
So, but ultimately, that's all that you're responsible for. Is just doing the best that you can, and that's great. It seems
Yes.
like that you like what you're doing. Your persona to me is someone hard worker, people that want to, you get things done, and people, that's who people want to associate themselves with. So, uh, anything else you want to leave us with about you, Hawaii, Garden Island Realty?
No, but just thank you. I think this was a fabulous conversation. I didn't know what to expect, but it was good. It was fun, talking to you, So,
So,
yeah, a lot
so
of
for
fun.
me, it's I like, I'm like, oh, I'm writing a book because of the adventures of real estate broker and the crazy zany things. And
Yeah,
my family's like, well, who's going to read it? I go, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We're just getting a book. There's funny stories in it, or hopefully they're funny stories. I'm still working on it. And then it kind of morphed into like, oh, let's do this podcast because, so it's kind of cool meeting people from all over talking about what's going on in their lives and in business. And the people that want to check it out on YouTube or Spotify, can say, "Oh, what's going on in Hawaii?" and all that. And the more that we share and talk about people, whether it's somebody who's newer to real estate or an older person, right? I came into it really late as like a second or third career, and people can see it like, "Oh, I'm those things make sense to me, and I want to do it." We're certainly not business gurus, right? You're Brian, I'm Danny. That's who we are. Um, no, that's all we have to do is be the best Danny and Brian every day that we can be, and that's all. Like you said, you'd like a few more agents. You don't need a few more agents. Money's not everything, right? It's like as long as you have your family, your all your activities, you're a complete person, and that's what we really just want to do is just live a good life, right?
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, I
So
hear you 100%. I like all that you said. Um, but just watching a few of the podcasts earlier, I agree with it's a good thing. I was watching, I was like, this is good stuff, for people getting into it or trying to learn what other people are doing, in the same industry. But I kind of enjoyed watching a few of these.
I'm gonna have to tell my family that you said
Yeah,
that. So they're gonna have to watch this to hear that you even said that too. Listen, it's just people chatting it up, and you know, while I do like $1 Million Listing,
oh yeah,
those are staged TV shows, which are enjoyed. That's entertainment, right? And so that's what it's about. So I appreciate Brian you coming on.
thank
Um,
you.
I want to thank everyone for watching another edition of the Adventures of a Real Estate Broker. I'm Daniel Berger and Bryan Miyake. Thank you so much for coming. With good luck with everything at Garden Island Realty. Kauai is fantastic, and now I need to get back there. So if I do get there, I will
Please do.
certainly go looking for you.
Come look for
Um,
me.
I will. And clearly when if I have clients that are looking to do things on the island, I'll certainly let you know. But thank you very much. Thanks for coming on the show. And I can't wait for when it all gets published and you can watch it and we can also share and other people can learn from maybe we had a few tidbits or something that made sense to somebody. So thank you very much, Brian.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me on the Adventures of a Real Estate Broker. I hope you enjoyed our time together as much as I did. If you laughed, learned something, or just had a good time, do yourself a favor and subscribe to the podcast. A big shout out to our sponsor, Remax Prestige Properties, for making this all possible. Remember to leave a review if you enjoyed the show. It helps more people find us. Until next time, keep it real, keep it fun, and keep exploring the adventures in your neighborhood. I'm Daniel Berger, your New York realtor, and I'll see you in the next episode.